Good evening, salmon and steelhead members of the Guys Forecast. This is your forecast for tomorrow, Wednesday, September 8th. It is a lot of coho starting to stream into the river here. It's been pretty good fishing today. It's clearly a lot of fish coming in the river, and I don't think tomorrow is going to be any exception. My prediction is within the next 4 days, actually maybe make it 6 just to be safe, that the coho are going to be thicker than flies in the lower Columbia River, where 3 fish limits are totally going to happen, but didn't happen today. I'm sure that folks that worked hard for their catch probably came close to that. I did have one of my customers on board catch 3 coho today, but he was the exception. We had a hard time keeping them on the hooks, but it's going to happen, or if it doesn't happen, we're not going to get a million fish on the A-run coho component of the Columbia River. So numbers should build every day, but one of these days it's just going to absolutely explode out there with coho. You have several options tomorrow. I think the Washington side below the bridge is fishing 28 to 32 foot of water, should have some fish in it. As the tide starts to slow down, it even starts to come in, look to the restrooms, to the hydrofoil to produce some good bites, either on spinners or anchovies. As you get close to low tide, there's a lot of river water influence, so spinners work real good, hardware works real good. I know several guys did good just fishing straight spinners. And then, if you have the gumption, roll on down to buoy 11 downstream and hold on the line. There's been some jellyfish a little later in the tide when the first rip comes through, but a bunch of good biters on that flood tide, especially on the early part of it. If you have the patience to wait it out on the second half of the flood tide, there's been some good rumors of good activity on the second half there. We're coming into a strong tide series, 7.5 foot, 8 foot flood tide. This is when the vacuum happens, when coho are swept in from adjacent ocean areas through the buoy 10 deadline, and should be real good action. And don't, I've said this several times before, don't go deep. There's a lot of fish that are just 7 to 9 strips, 10 to 15 feet on line counters. They're in shallow. They'll bite shallow. If you go deep, they have a harder time seeing that. They won't necessarily go down to strike those baits or the lures. So don't hesitate to run some shallow rods. You're gonna find some success there. And then follow them up. There hasn't been a good bite on that the Desdemona tongue. These are a bit of a strong tide series to expect real good results for the upstream Desdemona tongue troll, which is buoy 21 to the Desdemona light marker. That has not produced well the last couple days. It probably won't tomorrow. Maybe a few fish on the ham and hover, but the bridge, which is right behind me, that produced a pretty good bite today. Probably about 3 hours after flood, there were fish starting to come through there, and quite a few biters taken there. So again, don't hesitate to fish some shallow rods to catch those fish. Quality coho. Got to dodge a few seals. We never had a seal issue today, but certainly are some folks that are. And then the hump troll. You guys that have watched the video on fishing the humps above the bridge about an hour before high tide, that's been good. Some of that water is only 15 foot deep, and don't be afraid to run those shallow. You don't want to be dragging your baits on the bottom there. And you got to make a decision. You're going to go all spinners. The strike to hook ratio is better on those spinners. They're biting real well when we have a lot of river influence temperatures that are 67, 68 degrees, and then as the water gets cooler on the incoming tide, they seem to respond better on bait, especially if you're going to fish down low by buoy 10, buoy 11. So that's the forecast for tomorrow. I mean, I'm saying, mark my words, if we don't start getting early limits of three coho limits here by the 13th or 14th of September, we are not gonna get 1 million fish into this system for the A run. We are not gonna get 500,000 fish for the B run. So a lot of detail is going to be told to us in the next 7 days of fishing if we're going to get the prediction that's out there. So stay tuned. Always pay attention to the guide's forecast. Good luck, people.